What up, kids? KK in the building. Thank you, Miss Gregory, for those amazing tips on how to read poetry. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk about these 4 tips. We're going to review them, and we're actually going to immediately begin applying it to this poem, We Real Cool, by Gwendolyn Brooks. We Real Cool? Miss K, that's not proper grammar. How could that be a poem title? I know, right? This must be like the coolest poem ever. It's my favorite poem, and we're going to use this poem to prove to you that these tips work. Okay? So the first tip that Ms. Gregory went over with you is that you have to read poems more than once. We tell you guys that you have to read everything more than once, and we know you don't always do that. But with poems, you have to read poems at least 2 or 3 times to get all of the meaning out of it. And I'm telling you, I'm 34 years old. I have read this poem 1,000 times, and every time I read it, I still like gain a new insight, all right? So you have to read poems at least 3 times. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you a minute. I want you to start at the title, We Real Cool, and read the whole way down in the poem below. Go. You done? Okay, the way you read it is totally not how it's supposed to sound. I'm going to read it the way it's supposed to sound. This poem was written during the Harlem Renaissance. Your teachers can tell you a little bit more about that. This poem is actually supposed to sound like scat music. So I'm going to read it to you the way it's supposed to be read. Don't make fun of me. This is totally how it's supposed to be read. We real cool. The pool players. 7 at the Golden Shovel. We real cool. We left school. We lurk late. We strike straight. We sing sin. We thin gin. We jazz June. We die soon. What? We die soon? Dang. Okay. So that's our second read through. Now let's do a third read through together, okay, as a whole class. Okay, we're going to read it together. Remember, try to sound cool like me. Don't read it the first lame way you read it. Sound cool like me, okay? We're going to start with the title. We real cool. The pool players, 7 at the Golden Shovel. We real cool. We left school. We lurk late. We strike straight. We sing sin. We thin gin. We jazz June. We die soon. Okay, so we've now read the poem at least 3 times. Okay, and guess what? If you don't get it, read it again. Okay, so that is the first tip. You've got to read all poems 3 times. The second tip is that mostly all poems work on a figurative level, meaning it seems like they're about one thing, but it's totally about something else. Or it seems like this is what the author's saying, but the author has a deeper meaning below the surface. So the title of this poem is called We Real Cool, but they die. Okay, so this author is being sarcastic. The author is using all these cool things that kids do and lines them up, and then boom, at the end they die. So instead of the author writing a poem about teenagers make bad decisions and teenagers, you need to get your heads out of your butts, instead she writes this poem about all the cool things that teenagers do, and then they die at the end. So like below the surface, you're supposed to pick up like, oh, like maybe they're actually not that cool. Maybe she's being kind of sarcastic. So again, the poem called We Real Cool is actually not about people being cool. Below the surface, it is a poem about how teenagers, especially teenage boys, sometimes make decisions that seem cool at the time, but actually are super duper detrimental. Now, by the way, think about it. Are you making some of these decisions, okay? This is why we don't want to see you guys walking down Tuckasegee going to Subway, because you're going to skip school and then you're going to die like the poem says. Okay, no, I'm tripping. Okay. So all poems contain a shift. That is the third tip that Ms. Gregory went over. And looking at this poem right here, you see the shift in the poem. And shifts usually take place at the end of poems. And that's really cool because if you don't get the beginning, but you get the end, then know that the beginning is the opposite of the end, because most poems contain a shift. Or if you get the beginning of the poem, but you don't get the end of the poem, then know that the end is just the opposite of the beginning, because most poems have a shift. So this poem below, We Real Cool, it starts off positive. We real cool. We left school, hey! We lurk late, that means we stay out past curfew and party. We strike straight, we're good fighters, okay? We always win. We sing sin. We thin gin, that means we drink, we dance, we party. We jazz June, woo! We die soon. Shoot. So there's that shift, okay? You see it right here in the poem. So if you don't get the beginning of it and you get the end, the beginning is the opposite of the end. You feel me? Okay, we'll develop that. Now, the last thing is you cannot read poems line by line if there's punctuation. And you see that there is punctuation in this poem below. Like, I don't know why teachers miss this trick. This is a really important tip. Look, my little poofs are just going everywhere with this. You cannot read poems line by line if there's a capital letter in punctuation. You have to read them sentence by sentence, or else you'll be like, WTH is this poem about? We real cool, we? Left school, we? Lurk late, we? Huh? You have to read poems by sentences. So, we real cool. We left school. We lurk late. We strike straight. Now, that's not how it's supposed to sound, but for us to understand it, we have to read the poem sentence by sentence. So, we're about to show you a strategy. You're about to hear my voice, and I'm about to mark a poem all up. But when I'm marking that poem all up, I'm still considering these 4 steps right here. Even if you don't want to annotate, which you all will be annotating, you still have to do these 4 steps every time you read a poem. 1, read it at least 3 times. 2, understand that there is a figurative below the surface meaning. 3, know that there is a shift, okay? And use that shift to help unlock meaning for different parts of the poem. And 4, read it from capital letter to period. We real cool, you be cool, I'm already cool, and I'm out.